I think what's really exciting me is the ability to hop on all these different projects in various stages of development, but especially like early in development. Like this is something like we really wanted to also do at DreamWorks.
You're tuned in to Making It, Life as an Artist. I'm Taylor. What does it really mean to make it as an artist? Let's find out. All right. And we are live. I'm here with Brittany Biggs, good friend here, creative human being. And Brittany, I'm pumped to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. I'm glad we could arrange the time. You're a very busy person with all your creative awesomeness going on. So thanks for being here.
Of course.
Okay, so we just talked, and I threw this question your way, and that question is, what are you most excited about in your creative world right now?
Oh man. So I am a Previs artist. So that means pre-visualization. So, and I work in animation. So basically it's the kind of like the cinematography of the animated film. I'm currently working at Sony Pictures Animation. And so it'll be 2 years in April. And some of the projects I've recently worked on include like K-pop Demon Hunters and Goat, which is coming out in February. And basically, in general, I think what's really exciting me is the ability to hop on all these different projects in various stages of development, but especially like early in development. Like this is something like we really wanted to also do at DreamWorks. And at least like getting on projects super early wasn't something that was really happening. So it's exciting to kind of be able to hop around. And then with Sony, they don't have like a house style. So like with DreamWorks, Disney, they have kind of like a house style. And at Sony, that's like very creative leadership driven. So, Hotel Transylvania is going to have a very different look than Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse, right? Or K-pop Demon Hunters. And so it's really cool to be able to like switch gears and jump onto a very different thing. And like in terms of the style and how the camera is going to react and like tell that story. So super stoked on that in terms of like my professional work life. And I'm finding a lot of fulfillment through my professional work, which is great because, there's definitely been a lot of times I'm doing stuff on the side, but yeah, I'm getting a lot of that fulfillment right now in my normal 9 to 6 job. So that's exciting.
Nice. That's really exciting. I think anytime you can say that as a professional creative person, like you're winning. That's
I'm
awesome.
stoked. I am so stoked.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So pre-viz. So
Yeah.
you are the choreographer of the animation. So I watched K-pop Demon Hunters. We started watching the other night and finished it last night, and I gotta say I loved it.
Nice.
It was awesome. It was really, really well done. It was beautifully done, beautifully animated. The storyline was great. I really liked the theme based around like the concept of shame and acceptance, and I thought that was really cool. Yeah, like, and then the K-pop element was really just, yeah. So okay, so then pre-viz, so you're doing the choreography. So I guess I'm imagining, are you like storyboarding and like drawing, sketching, like what you're imagining, or what are you doing?
No, so I guess I wouldn't say it's so much the choreography, it's more the cinematography. So in terms of like, okay, if we're getting launched onto a sequence, you can get launched in a number of ways. So traditionally you get launched from storyboards, right? So story artists have already kind of done a pass. It's gone through editorial who's cut it together into like an animatic so you can kind of see like a moving picture and like the skeleton of what it's going to look like. And that's kind of been like vetted and approved by the director, and now it's kind of getting launched into previs. And now this is the opportunity to actually take all your environments, your 3D elements and your characters and start to actually like put them in the space that has been imagined through, the conceptual drawings, and now start to see how it actually is going to work in that space. So it's more about like, you're of course working in the computer. And then we are actually working in Unreal Engine, which is super exciting. Especially like for previs, just because you get so much for free, meaning traditionally you're working in animation software where when you're working in your viewport, you're just kind of looking at like very basic stuff. And especially with like lighting and how that might interact with things like water or effects. So you're not going to really see how cool that stuff looks until you render. And the rendering time can take a long time. And so what's great is Unreal Engine, it's all real time graphics. So everything you see in your viewport is what it's going to look like. And at this point, again, this is all just like we have concept art that we can look at to kind of get ideas of like the lighting, but we're setting up, just rough characters. We usually are working also in this stage, like with really rough models and just kind of, in some cases, we don't even have models. So we'll mock stuff up ourselves or we'll just use like simple, like polygons or something to kind of represent like, okay, this will be a building or this cylinder represents whatever object. And then it's, we'll block out the scene. So we'll actually like roughly animate the characters. It's nothing like what looks like on the final screen. It's just it's rough enough just to get the idea across. So you might just like focus on like key poses. And then, depending on, well, in Unreal, I mean, you're going to have like beautiful interpolation between like the key framed poses of your characters and stuff. But you could still kind of have it be like a more stepped look just to kind of, again, like get the idea across. So you're setting up your characters, you're blocking them in the scene, you're trying to see how they move throughout the scene. And then, of course, kind of once you can set up that blocking, then you can also go in with cameras and start covering it, just like in live action. So you have the scene play out, the actors are doing their thing, and then you're coming in with like a bunch of cameras and like recording it from all the different angles. And then once you have that coverage, that can send to editorial and they can cut it together. So the idea of doing like coverage and stuff, that is in animation. Normally, again, you're kind of following the storyboards and you're doing exactly what the storyboards say. But that's also what's really exciting about what we're doing right now as well, is we get to kind of explore, different ideas and present those ideas and allow the editor to cut them together and then say, hey, I'm missing like this shot. Can you build this? And so we'll go back and kind of reframe and do whatever we need to do and send it back. So it's a really cool, fun back and forth with the directors, the editorial department. Yeah.
Whoa. My mind's blown already. Okay. Wow. Okay. So I guess I have some questions. And I don't know anything about animation, so this is fun. So when you said that, so there's like the traditional way of like storyboarding and then you're talking about the engine. Can you tell me about like, and how you're setting up cameras? It almost like, I guess this whole thing kind of has me boggled a little bit.
Yeah. So
So there's
everything's
two
just,
different ways of doing it. There's like the traditional way and then there's this, or are there more
I
than that?
mean, it's still like, you're still, I guess gosh, it is kind of hard to describe, but yeah, I mean, everything is like done virtually, right? So you have virtual cameras, right? And then, but they
Okay.
still are going to respect, like, I still am thinking about what kind of lens I'm going to be using to shoot the scene, right? Am I going to use a long lens? Am I going to use a wide lens? How am I going to frame the character and the scene? And so you're still like kind of thinking about like all the kind of cinematography that you would think about in a live action film in terms of how you're going to piece this together. So like, you know, having that establishing shot so everyone knows where they are. And like, if it's, maybe an intimate conversation, kind of deciding like how you're shooting that. A lot of times, like if you kind of want to feel like you're really in that moment, you might be shooting like more on axis, meaning like the camera is more in line with the eye lines rather than kind of the camera being off to the side where it feels like more observational. And so, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So like I guess I'm thinking about in the movie K-pop Demon Hunters, you got the main female character and the main male character and their scene where they're like walking along together on like rooftops and then they end up at like one specific rooftop and there's a tiger there and they just walked up some stairs and they're like there. So you have like a digital space, like a VR space or sort of that, and then like you can move the cameras three-dimensionally through that with the characters in it. Is that
Yeah,
or
I wouldn't describe it as VR because when I think of VR, I'm thinking like that you're actually like planting yourself and walking through that space. It's not like
okay?
so much like that. It's more just
Okay.
like on your computer screen in the computer software, you're able to like see the whole set. You're able to like fly through the set as if it were kind of like a video game. And then you can also animate the characters. So it's just like kind of like puppetry. So if I want to wave at you, I might set a key like first with my arm down and then my arm up, and then my arm over here, and then the computer is going to do the whole thing, right? It's going
Yeah.
to like fill in all the keys in between. Um, so yeah, it's I mean, yeah, so it's still a digital set for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And then you said that there isn't like in the older way there was like a rendering process going from what
Oh,
it
and that's still very much used, I mean, like for instance, very one of the kind of industry standard pieces of software for animation is Maya, right? So people are still using Maya. You can still complete an entire film from start to finish in something like Maya. And for instance, I have my own short film called Mono, and originally I was thinking about using Maya to make that. And then because it has to deal with sharks and water. And again, like, so when I was looking at my viewport, I would just it looked like a flat plane to represent the water surface. And so it wasn't until I would render and, I would have like a really kind of simple animation cycle of the shark swimming. And then when I go to render it, it's trying to do all these calculations with the lighting and like the water in the scene. And it would take like over 24 hours to get back like 30 seconds. And then I'd be like, oh, great, my shark is floating outside of the water. It looks like it's in it correctly, but the displacement of like the surface once I render it is completely off. I can't see it until I render it. So anyway, like, yeah, there are still like, it's just that I guess the usage of Unreal Engine in studios, it's like a newer thing and they're adapting that into the process. But yeah, in terms of like, even with my own personal film, like it was once I learned how to use Unreal Engine, I did that through like this fellowship. It was like a 4-week fellowship. And then I was just like, wow, it's literally going to solve every question I have and every technical problem I think I'm going to run into for my projects. And then I switched everything over for Unreal and it was fantastic. I was able to like handle everything perfectly fine. So,
and way faster
I mean, obviously, like, okay, for
or
instance, like for that film, it's 10 minutes. And then I was able to hire like a small team to kind of help out, but like, and it's still at the end of the day, I think I started that just like writing the initial concept would have been in like fall of 2018. And then when I finished the final film, that was January of 2021. So it still took a really long time, but like once I kind of had all the assets like created. I got one of my least favorite tasks in the animation process is the 3D modeling part. I'm just not a big fan. So
okay.
luckily, like I found other people to help me out with that process. So once I got all my models done, and then I would do like a step called rigging, which is like adding skeletons to the characters so I can actually animate and move them, ingest that into the program and then start dropping in the camera, moving it around and then once I have like people helping with animation and lighting and effects, that process took about like from July of 2020. Gosh, is that right? No, it can't be. Anyway, I'm totally now blanking on my timeline, but like it was like that summer until I think the following year, but to get it done. So these are
Wow.
still like really like they still take a long time, but
Yeah.
it's still like that process is helping make things a lot faster.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Very cool. Um, well, now I'm curious about well, tell us about the shark movie. What
Yeah.
what
So,
inspired it? How to go? How the process feel?
yeah. Okay. So I have an obsession with sharks. My husband does too. But for me, like obviously watching Jaws when I was a kid totally traumatized me. Like, and my imagination would run very, very wild. So, my brother, when I was very young, would tell me how Jaws would come out of the toilet and eat me, and that was a traumatic thing. And then swimming alone in a swimming pool was actually scary to me because I could just imagine a shark behind me. Anyway, so super scared of sharks. And then I got dive certified. I don't even know now, like in 2010. And Jeff and I went and did a dive trip in Fiji. And then while on that trip, I had an incident where I was down like 70 feet and we were on this dive called the Breath Taker because the current can be so strong it can rip the regulator out of your mouth. But also that current is what attracts sharks. And so I'm watching the shark go by, and then my regulator basically like, how it's a mouthpiece that's attached to the regulator and it's attached by a zip tie. So either it broke or it was missing altogether. But when I turned my head, like as the shark was going by, it detached. So I'm just exhaling. I didn't know. And the funny thing is, Jeff got this all on camera. So like the shark goes by, I'm like, whoa. And then I realized that it's broken. Luckily, I didn't inhale any water. So I'm thrashing around. I get the spare, I surface and all that stuff. And then I realized like I was bleeding from thrashing around and like that shark didn't care about me and I didn't care about it. And so then that's when like the moment changed for me where I kind of started having this fascination with sharks. Even though I'm still scared of them, I became more of like a fascination. And then we moved to Hawaii in 2016. And so, of course, living in Hawaii and working in Hawaii, you meet a lot of people who, or you also start learning about culturally how important sharks are. And so I really wanted to create a story, that would hopefully show how sharks are important in the environment, but also like on the, environmental and scientific level, why sharks are important, but also I wanted to show it on like a more personal level and emotional level. And it was just beautiful hearing some of these stories, like of, like certain Native Hawaiians that I got to meet. And, their Aumakua, which is kind of like their family ancestor, family gods are sharks. And in Hawaiian, that's Mano. And so, yeah, so basically, I was trying to think, I want to tell this story. I want it to kind of be based in Hawaii, but I also need to make sure I do this the right way because I am not Hawaiian. This is not my story to tell. So basically, like the initial concept, the idea of like wanting to show how sharks have been around forever and it's only been like, human impacting sharks that have caused like the threat of extinction. So Jeff had this really cool idea that every time the shark goes above and below the water, it passes like through huge periods of time. And then I kind of took that concept and like built an idea out of it. And so it's all based in Hawaii. So from before, like the islands are even formed to like, volcanoes creating the islands to the first Polynesian settlers to now it's like, Hawaii with it's just Hawaii and Hawaiians who are living there. And then the Western contact and then World War II and Pearl Harbor. And then like the kind of 60s, 70s Waikiki surf explosion and just a big tourist boom. And then into like modern day commercial fishing and shark finning. And then so that was, I was able to kind of ground that in the history of Hawaii, but then also it was really cool because I got to partner with a family based on Big Island, the Nakachi family, and they are massive like shark advocates. They're descendants of Kakumano, which are shark guardians. And so they had beautiful stories to tell of like the way that they care for and their relationship with sharks, like that's been passed like from generation to generation, kind of hearing about some of their protocols and incorporating that all into the film. And like every step of the way, it was kind of like working with them and like, even like the designs, everything was kind of like vetted through them to make sure that it was kind of had their like stamp of approval. And so some of the cool things that was incorporated, like the idea is like through this huge passage of time, you're also seeing interactions from a certain family with this shark. So there's a shark that's like taking us through all these like vignettes of different time periods. Again, like every time you go above and below the water, like you're kind of passing into time. And so for instance, like, when we first see the first Polynesian settlers arriving, there's one like guy who's paddling in the canoe and he kind of leans over and knocks on the side of the canoe. And that was also something that my advisors kind of shared is like, that's a way they'll kind of draw sharks to them by tapping on the side of the canoe, by patting on the top, on the surface of the water. And yeah, so that's kind of like the first contact. And then once we're in like ancient Hawaii, we have like a fisherman who gives an offering of a fish to the shark. And then, the shark witnesses like a torpedo and Pearl Harbor. And then once we kind of get into like the 60s and Waikiki surf explosion, we're seeing, pollution. We're seeing the water starting to go from pure, beautiful coral, lots of fish. And now it's kind of becoming more polluted. And when it surfaces, we see a surfer there. And like there's the piece of plastic stuck to the shark. The surfer cleans that piece of plastic off. And then, of course, like we see terrible shark finning. And then our kind of hero shark that's been leading us through the whole film gets captured in a net. And then a freediver comes and cuts the shark out. And so, yeah, anyway, it was a super fun journey working on this film. And yeah, it got to screen at some cool festivals for like it did its whole festival run, so that was really fun. But yeah,
Nice.
sorry, that was like very long-winded.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's really cool in a lot of ways. I like that you worked like with, you know, the native Hawaiians
Hmm.
to like make sure that it was all done right and yeah, tell the story. It's wild the history of everything and yeah, that's a cool perspective, taking the shark's view from the water of what's going on. Yeah, I like it. Was that fun going on the tour?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I went over and they invited us over to Big Island and like they took us out on their boats and we went, you know, swimming with sharks and then they would kind of take us around and drive us around and tell us about like different stories from their own family and then of course stories of like different shark gods in different areas of the island. And it was just really cool being able to like kind of incorporate these stories like into the film. And a lot of these things are, stuff that maybe a lot of people, unless you're like really into like Hawaii and understand like, some of this like cultural history around sharks, like you wouldn't really even pick up on. But that's what was so special about like screening it with Hawaiian like audiences was just like kind of seeing, and especially people whose amakua is are sharks.
Yeah.
It was just so cool, like seeing their response and like their reaction to it. Like it was really, really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, honoring what should be honored and then you get to experience that like reaction when you
Yeah.
do it.
It was absolutely beautiful, the whole process.
Yeah, cool. Can we see it? Is it out in the
Yeah.
world?
So if you go to manosharkfilm.com, so MANO sharkfilm.com, it's now up on the whole film is on the website. And it's really cool because there are different programs, like educational programs and like youth programs in Hawaii that are kind of incorporated this into like a curriculum for their students.
Really?
Yeah, so that's really cool.
Nice.
And then yeah, like I said, it did its festival run, which was cool. But yeah, you can see it online.
Nice. Did you do any like introductory talks or anything like film screenings, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I had like some Q&A stuff, and actually even at the ocean there, I played at the Oceanside Film Festival, and
Nice.
it was really cool because my two composers, they're based in LA, but one of the composers I knew from like grad school, like he helped compose the music on my grad thesis film, and his partner ended up flying out. Like it was funny because they actually surprised me. They're like, "Hey, we have this idea." And at the time I was working at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And so when I made this film, that's when I was teaching at the university. And that was kind of like, actually, it was cool because it was part of my job. This was like the research component was authoring my own films. So anyway, they were like, hey, we contacted the head of like the symphony orchestra or something at the university. And uh, we're going to have students actually perform the music we've composed, at least like this one section. And so, yeah, during COVID, she flew out and like they recorded all these students playing like this one specific part from the film. And it was just absolutely so cool and beautiful to see that. But anyway, she won like for the film, she won best music in a short film at the Oceanside Film Festival. And that was like her first award. So super cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then you ended up living near Oceanside not too long
Well,
after
I
that.
found out about the festival actually. I was paddling with Oceanside Outward Canoe Club, and someone was knew what I did, knew I worked in the industry, and her son actually works in the industry. And then she mentioned like, "Oh, you should check out Oceanside Film Festival," and I was like, "Yeah, I'll totally submit it." And so, yeah, it was like nominated for several awards, and then ended up winning for best music, which was pretty cool.
Haha, cool.
Yeah, I think this was in 2023 was when it screened. 23 or
Nice.
24, I can't remember. No, it would have been 24.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I've just been getting more into the art scene in Oceanside and
Hmm.
around here and like I just found out about the Oceanside Film Festival like
Did.
6 months ago. So
Yeah.
that's cool
And
to hear
actually, I
about.
remember when I went, they had, because they do it at the Brooks Theater, right?
Yeah.
Right on like downtown Oceanside. And for like the opening night, It was like in the lobby, and they had like an exhibit. There was an artist with their exhibit, so you should be getting in touch with them.
I
Have
should
some
do
of
that.
your artwork showcased during the event.
That'd be cool.
That'd
All
be
right.
awesome.
Yep. Yep. Totally. Yeah, and I think it's grown since then too. There's a couple other venues that I think were showing this last time.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Mono shark film. That's cool. Sharks definitely give me the heebie-jeebies, but
Yeah.
I also am certain that at least around here that they're really not in a mode where they want to attack anybody.
No,
Like the amount of surfers that are in the water all day every day
totally.
in Southern California, and like you only hear about things about shark attacks like once in a very long while.
I know.
It's kind of
And like
amazing.
it's super amazing. And actually it's funny. Because I only, even though I was living in Hawaii, we were there for about 6 years. I wasn't interested in surfing when I was living there. I was really into outrigger canoeing. It wasn't until I moved here that I was decided I wanted to get into surfing, which makes no sense. But anyway, one thing I also did learn though is I do get a little more nervous around surfing in October because I mean, this is not scientifically proven at all, but a lot of shark attacks have happened in October. And there's this really cool Hawaiian saying, like, when the willy willy blooms, the shark bites. And so it was even really cool just to see, like, kind of that indigenous science and that recognition of like nature and the patterns, right? That, like, obviously there must be some, like, the mating season must align with the time, like, that this tree blooms. And then they're noticing, like, that's when, like, attacks are happening because they're coming in closer to shore and da da da. So, but yeah, like, when you look at even some of the big, famous people, watermen who have had shark encounters, like Bethany Hamilton and Mike Coots. Like it was all in October.
Yeah. October in
So
Hawaii.
yes, but I think, I think certainly for Hawaii, but I don't know. Maybe it's also elsewhere too. But
Yeah. Hawaii's got big sharks.
yeah, but we do
Tight.
too. We do too.
Yeah, but I've heard that a lot of the great whites that are around are like juveniles.
Yes.
And so a lot of the great whites are will go from like Northern California out to Hawaii and then like around or whatever. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, people see them flying over the water down here. But
You mean like the air jaws thing?
yeah, or air jaws, is that like the airplanes that fly around?
No, like so the behavior of like sharks breaching
Oh,
out of the water.
yeah.
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 Because that was actually, oh God, I'm just like nerding out on shark stuff. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, this is great. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
but that was like a behavior that was really only seen in South Africa. And then they started seeing it in Southern California, like Marina Del Rey and whatnot. And so it's
Right.
like kind of like, oh wow, like they're actually like clearly migrating and then like learning these patterns.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, I got to swim or be in a kayak with whales last week or two
I
weeks
saw
ago.
your
Last week.
video. That was magical.
Being around big animals like that is pretty wild.
I mean, yeah, I hear you. We did the whole snorkeling with manta rays in Hawaii, and like obviously they're not nearly as big as a whale, but like, they're like barrel rolling and brushing up against you, and it's just like, I don't know. I feel like those are like spiritual moments.
Totally. Like there's something it's interesting because there's like a connected component to it where it's like there's part of it feels very alien.
Hmm.
Like they're totally different creatures and their sensory organs are totally configured differently and they're just like they move different, they act different, they do different things. But then there's also like the flip side of it too where there's like this connection that you can feel with them as
Hmm.
well as just being like living creatures and they just want to survive and thrive and have their young survive and all that. So there's like it's a really interesting duality of it all, kind of at the same time. Same thing with sharks. Like they're dangerous and they're scary, but at the same time, like we love them and we want them to do well. And like, yeah, it's pretty
Absolutely.
surreal.
Yeah, that is such a cool experience you guys should do.
It was wild. It was so wild. They're so big.
They were humpbacks, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. One of them surfaced right next to me. This was the craziest, scariest one. Was I was in the kayak looking around, and it'd been a couple minutes since anything had come up because they would like do these like four exhales on top, and then they'd dive down, and you'd see their flukes, and they'd go down, and
oh
then they'd be
man.
gone for a couple minutes. And it felt like there were like six or eight of them swimming around. So sometimes they'd all be underwater and like diving down, who knows how deep, and getting food. And so I'm looking over, and I look over to my left, I'm just chilling, and the whole group that I was with was 30 yards away. I was kind of by myself. And then to my right, out of nowhere, this whale just surfaces like 6 feet away from me. And it was as if like a Cadillac Escalade just materialized right next to me, like out of nowhere. And then it exhaled at the same time. So it just like scared the shit out of me. And kind of shook my boat. And I was like, oh man, got my heart going. It was fun.
Yeah.
That was
Oh, that's
wild.
amazing.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
you feel alive.
Definitely did. I definitely did. Yeah. One thing, why don't you tell us about how your creative journey started? You know, you're doing amazing things with amazing people on these amazing projects. How did it begin?
Yeah. So when I was young, I really did enjoy, like, I loved drawing and I really loved storytelling. So when I was little, like, I'm self-taught in terms of typing. I loved like the sound of typing. And so, I would always like write these little computers on like the computer, or sorry, write these little stories on the computer and just make stuff up all the time. So I knew early on I wanted to do something with art and I wanted to do something with computers. I didn't know exactly what. So when I entered in undergrad, I first started out with thinking I wanted to pursue graphic design. And then I went and saw the movie Shrek in theaters and was not even that excited to see it. But I was going with like a friend and I think a young kid. And I remember just like laughing hysterically and like really enjoying it and realizing like, oh my God, this is totally what I want to do. Like this is something that speaks to like everyone of all ages. Like a little kid can enjoy it, but an adult can also enjoy like the more like the subtle nuanced humor in it or whatever. And so then I, changed my major and studied digital arts and animation. And I got that degree in at George Mason University outside of DC. But, I jumped right into like learning Maya, which was great, but I didn't really have like I didn't feel like I had like the foundations of animation. And I did work for a year
Which
after
are what?
Hmm? Oh,
Which,
just I mean in
what
terms
would
of
you
like
call those?
there's the 12 principles of animation that's like always
Oh,
taught. And it's by two of the nine old men at Disney, but they came up with like these principles of how you can animate in a more appealing and believable way. And it's things like, anticipation, like, and before you do an action, you kind of do the opposite of that action. Um, gosh, uh, like timing and spacing. So, um, I don't know. It's like a whole Bible, right? That a lot of animators kind of follow, but, um, and also, not like I was necessarily interested in doing 2D animation, but just kind of, again, kind of having that foundation I felt like would be really great. Um, I worked for a year doing graphic design. I remember like waking up kind of being like, oh my God, I don't want to be doing this like for the rest of my life or anything like that. I want to give like animation a shot. And I remember like, as I was studying it and I would tell people what I'm majoring in, they'd be like, okay, well, what can you do with that? And I was like, well, I want to go work at like one of the big studios. And of course, it just kind of seemed like a pipe dream. But I wanted to pursue it regardless. And anyway, I decided, okay, I'm going to apply to grad schools and where I can kind of focus on like honing my craft and like kind of getting that foundation. And so then was able to, got into some spots and then decided to go to LA at USC. And what was nice about that program was a 3-year program. The first year was completely analog. So your first film had to be done in some sort of traditional method. And so I did like a 1 minute hand drawn film and definitely like confirmed like I never want to do 2D animation. And then
and
after
this
that,
is
yeah,
on like pages of paper and like flipping through a book, basically.
pretty much like you had your animation paper and it has like these specific holes and like so you can register like every page is put on your light table and like stacked on top so you can do the flipping to see like how it's moving. Anyway, so I did that
Wow.
whole thing, shot it on actual film, like with a down shooting camera. So I got to learn all that stuff, which was really cool. And then, but yeah, really spent most of the rest of the time like honing and learning, like, 3D animation, which is what I was most interested in. And then, yeah, luckily got an internship out of grad school at DreamWorks and started my career doing that. And at first thought, I first entered like in the production management side because I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. Again, I loved storytelling, but I'm also like really organized and love planning. So I was like, oh, maybe I want to be a creative producer. And I quickly found, okay, this is not what I want to do. And I really miss like working in Maya and like being part of this creative process. And so like when you're working in a big studio, it's very much like an assembly line. Like if you're an animator, that's all you're doing. If you're a lighter, that's all you're doing. If you're a 3D modeler, that's all you're doing. And like I kind of like having some variety and being able to be more like a generalist and do a little bit of everything. And so that's when I kind of discovered layout department and like previs. And that's like you're basically creating like these little movies and doing a little bit of everything that you would do in all these other departments. And you work really closely with the directors and your head of layout, who's like the head of cinematography and production designer. Um,
So
yeah,
what you're
so
doing is like sort of the is it like kind of the last place where it is like a generalist thing, and then in the next steps it starts to get really like that's where the animators, the lighting, the blah blah blah, all the different
yeah,
things start to
exactly.
go off.
Yeah. So kind of once we kind of set up what it's going to look like in terms of like the composition and like, just like kind of like that shot language of how everything's framed and how like the characters are supposed to move through the scenes and whatnot. Then it gets passed on to like the animators to like really, of course, make a beautiful performance. And then obviously there might be like ideas that the animators have that's going to completely change what the camera looks like. And, so then it kind of comes back. They'll have to like redo the camera, or maybe it's good, like the camera will be kind of mocked up in animation and then it, goes through like a final camera stage. But I don't know. I kind of like not having to worry about making everything look perfect. I kind of like just the initial like idea generating and like testing out ideas process, like that phase. That's what's more interesting to me than like making perfect, beautiful images, which is also fun, but it's the other stuff that I'm more interested in. Like, is this like supporting the story, or is this like how we're moving the camera, is that really helping like this moment and like maybe having the audience like connect more to like the story or this character? So that kind of stuff is like what I'm really interested in.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So like K-pop Demon Hunters, you got the characters all flying all over the place and the cameras are moving around. And can I
Yeah,
say again that I love that movie?
it was such a fun project to work on. And so the scene that I really like, the main scene that I got to help, well, that I prevised, is in the end of the film when the Saja boys come out for their concert. Like the second they come out on stage, like their whole song, like I prevised that whole section.
What? And they got the hats on and they're like totally scary versions of themselves
Yeah.
and
And again,
the
like I
whole
didn't, I had, just motion capture data of like hip hop dancing that I applied to the character rings because of course I wasn't going to animate that. And like we didn't have the correct choreography. The animators did all that. So it's just like, again, just like the gist of them dancing and kind of setting up like the tone for the cameras and like the angles and stuff. Yeah, it was a nice process also because I had to listen to that song nonstop, right? For months, not months, but for a long time. And so it was nice, like that it was extremely entertaining.
Yeah, totally. It was everything about it was really well done. When they okay, so there's a lot of like really amazing dance moves going on. Do they have real people do those dances and film them and then have the animators like build the animation off of real people, or are they like creating that from scratch?
Yeah, I mean, they'll have like choreographers doing like something and then referencing that.
Okay. Nice. All
Yeah.
right. Well, that was cool. Um, yeah, it was funny. I had a hard time falling asleep last night because I think I was so pumped up on saving the good people of, Korea through dance and song.
Nice.
That's great. Okay, so it looks like we're at the time to do the question section.
Okay.
You ready for that?
I'm ready.
Okay. Okay, first question, and this is for creatives with a capital C, creatives of all backgrounds and styles and genres and mediums, aspiring creatives. What is your advice to these aspiring creatives?
I kind of mentioned like, when I was kind of pursuing my dreams of, working in animation, it seemed like a lot of people were just kind of like, what are you going to do with this? And, it wasn't like people didn't necessarily believe like I could actually make a career out of it. And so it's kind of like you just have to follow your guts. If there's something that you're passionate about and you want to go for it, it's like go for it. Like give it your all and see what happens. And I feel like I don't know. I've been fortunate that where it's like when I put my mind to something, like, I kind of make it happen. And so, yeah, I just feel like if there's something you want to do, follow your passions, do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool that you envisioned working for a top studio. And there's something I'm always kind of amazed when people, you know, dream big and then they achieve big. And it's like, but I don't know, there's something really powerful about choosing it and going for it and then following through and just like giving it your all.
No, 100%. Yeah.
It totally does happen. It can happen. It happens all the time. You're living proof.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's just go for it.
Yeah.
Ignore any of like the noise that, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing is a lot of people have no idea about like the people that would maybe ask you, what do you want to do with your life? And you're like, I want to be an animator at a top studio. They probably don't know any animators at top studios and they don't know anything about the industry at all. And so like for them it's like not even possible,
Mm-hmm.
like doesn't even exist. And I feel like that happens with like a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people that don't really know professional creatives, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not exposed to them or interacting with them a lot. So to tell them that I want to be like a professional artist in one way or another, like there's like that's not possible. So if we are to listen to those people, then we're gonna think it's not possible.
No, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. It's like when you're being open as well, like I wasn't necessarily sure exactly what I wanted to do. Like again, I started thinking I wanted to like follow like a creative producer path. And then I kind of found my way in what fit for me. And so I know so many people like in the animation industry, they started thinking, okay, I want to be whatever kind of artist, and they've transitioned into other things, or they got exposed to things that they never knew existed. And like for instance, some of my colleagues, like they didn't know what Previs was, and then they just happened to like kind of get put in this position and or they were at a studio where they got to see it happen and they're like, oh, I want to learn more about this. And so it's kind of like if you can be open-minded and like open to like opportunities, then that's the other thing that's really exciting is to kind of see what doors open for you and kind of where you just naturally kind of gravitate and go if you're kind of
Yeah.
open to like and being receptive to that.
Yeah. And I think that's a speaks to a lot of the value of school and college art, or art school or whatever specialty. There's a lot of shit that gets talked on college and the college
Hmm.
experience and, schooling in general. And I feel like a lot of that shit is being talked from the perspective of like, if you go to college, you should have a job waiting for you afterwards. And like,
Oh
that's
yeah.
how it should be. And that's sure. Like that's awesome. And that would be great. That's, I feel like more a reflection of like the economy at large.
Hmm.
But school itself is this cool place where you can go and you can take these classes. I thought I wanted to get into graphic design as well because
Hmm.
everybody's like, oh, that's the most commercial way to be an artist.
Hmm.
I took one class, I took like 3 weeks of one class, and I was like, this is not it at
Yeah.
all for me. Some people love it and like they get into it. For me, that was not, didn't feel right at all. And if I didn't know that and it was like I just had to choose a road and go, then I would have been a graphic designer and I might have been miserable. But
Yeah.
college is a place and like, yeah, with that open mind, you can like float around and try things and see what's going on and then
Total.
find your way.
Yeah. And like, for me, I went to grad school. I got an MFA, a Master of Fine Arts, and like that is not needed to get a job in the animation industry, right? You do not need an MFA to go and get a job at all. You just need a solid demo reel. Like you don't even have to go to college. If you had like the most amazing demo reel in the world, you could get hired. But there were a couple things that made me want to pursue grad school. And that was, again, I kind of mentioned like in my undergrad experience, I loved it. And I still felt like I wanted to figure out like what my style was and my interests. And so going to grad school was going to allow me to, again, kind of get that foundation, then, but also kind of explore like what my style was and kind of invest in myself. And then the other thing was I knew eventually like I was interested in the idea of teaching. And if I wanted to teach, like I'm really only interested in teaching at the university level. And if I wanted to do that, and especially at like for instance, where I did teach for 4 years at University of Hawaii Manoa, you need to have a terminal degree in your area. And so for that, for me, that's an MFA. So at least that kind of keeps that door open to me in the future. And I didn't think I was going to do it as soon as I did. And really it was because, again, back in 2016, like Jeff and I, we were both working in the industry. He finished on Zootopia. I finished on the first Trolls. It was the first time our end dates ever aligned. And we were like, you know what? Let's take a break. We love Hawaii. Let's go to Hawaii for the summer, kind of see what happens. And then, of course, we fell in love. And again, the idea of like being open to like the universe and what could happen. Like, as soon as we got there, it was just like all these cool opportunities just kept coming up. And then, we decided to like leave the industry, like quit our jobs and like stay. And then, eventually I got that position at University of Hawaii Manoa, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have my MFA, right? So it's just, yeah, it's cool to kind of just like see what can happen if you just allow yourself to follow what you want to do and just, yeah.
Yeah. Keep on tugging on the string and see where it pulls you.
Yeah.
See what opens up. Nice. Okay. Great. Great advice. Okay. Next question is what is your take on AI and art in the future?
Yeah, that's a scary one. And obviously, I don't know, I feel like I should have given this little disclaimer, but of course, I'm only speaking as myself. I'm not in any way representing Sony. Okay. Um, I feel like I always have to do that whenever I do these kinds of talks. But honestly, I have not really dabbled that much in AI, and I feel like I probably should just to kind of get a better understanding of it. I think it is scary. I definitely see like, some of my coworkers, for instance, they have like these insane AI apps where they can give it a prompt and it looks really, really like videos. Like it will create really realistic things. And even like on social media, it's hard to tell sometimes what's real and what's AI. So yeah, I think in some ways there could be maybe a threat to jobs, but I'm also hoping that it's more used as a tool, like any other thing, especially like in art history, like when photography was introduced and how that felt like a threat, and like when 3D animation was introduced and how that felt like a threat to 2D animation, all that kind of stuff. But it's just hopefully we can treat it as another tool, and it could hopefully take on some of the more like mundane, repetitive tasks that isn't so fun to do, so that you can then focus more on like whatever creative process you enjoy doing and let that take care of, the AI take care of the other stuff. But I just, you know what, I don't know. And I think there's definitely some scary stuff, but I do hope it can be used in a positive way where it can be helpful like a tool. That's my hope.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Totally. That's a nice hope. I like that.
I mean, what do you
Yeah.
think? I'm curious. What do you think?
Um yeah, I mean I agree that there are a lot of things, a lot of processes in I think any creative field that where there are tedious
Mhm.
elements and it can just handle that so you can focus on the more interesting things and the things that light up a human creatively. And I think those, yeah, like it kind of puts human creativity into like a specialized position. Like that's something that is really like beautiful that humans can do. And even if AI can be like trained to do it, there's still like a decision making that needs to be done. You know, creativity, like in one form or essence, is decision making with like some I don't know, with some unique characteristics or like outside possibilities. So yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about like drawing, like was when I would draw and I'd want to like fill in a whole section dark, like I used to have to like use a Sharpie and like go like this for 45 minutes, but then you switch to paint and then you're like, oh, there we go, boom, done. And then like you throw AI in it, it's like click, done. And so you can focus on the things that like, you know, that where your time is more valuably used.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, it'll probably take jobs, but
Yeah. I just hope, like, if it's something where it can help kind of get an idea started, you know, like in terms of like brainstorming and just kind of like throwing stuff up and seeing what sticks or seeing what could like help visualize stuff. But I would hope that it would then be like an actual human professional coming in and then actually completing that task. But yeah,
right.
I don't know. We'll
Little
remain up.
scary. A
We'll
little
see.
scary though. Ooh. All right. Now the last question here in the main section is what's your definition of art?
Oh man, well, I guess what is not art? I mean, I feel like it's everything, right? It's like, I mean, it's life, it's nature, it's a painting, it's I, like literally everything. Like your phone, like an app on your phone. Like there's going to be design elements, like product design elements or user interface design stuff, right? But like, I don't know, I think there's literally something artistic in everything, like food, like the way it tastes, the way it's presented, and just, I don't know, just life in general is like, I don't know, it's everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean everything that
Human
you look
spirit.
at has been designed by somebody or something at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now that with that being the answer, the antithesis is what's not art.
What's not art? I mean, that is just also something that's so subjective, right? Like, I totally this I remember this being a project in my undergrad art class, and I'm totally blanking on who this artist was, but he would create these paintings and use elephant dung in them. And it was like, and also like very controversial paintings, like he might be representing like somebody important, like even a religious figure, but they're completely like made out of shit. Right. And it's just like, and of course, you know, people were saying this is not art, this is not art, but it's like, but it is. I mean, I don't, I don't know. Like, I mean, I also think about some of the crazy things like oh my God, I'm totally blanking on all my art history now, but like the artist who put the toilet in the museum.
Yeah, Marcel Duchamp.
There you go. And the shovel,
Yeah.
right? And just kind of challenging people to say, like, is this or is this not art? And like, think I don't know. I guess if you want to have the opinion that something isn't, that's your opinion. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that is what a lot of art movements have been doing throughout time
yeah.
is throwing out the question, is this art? And by having people engage with it and having the discourse, like having it in a gallery or a museum or outside or whatever, like it's all like validating its artness
Mm-hmm.
like the whole way along. And
Yeah.
like you said, like people are gonna say, no, it's made out of elephant dung. It's not art. It's like, but it's art.
Mm-hmm. And they were
It's
still
like,
actually really cool paintings. They were
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, a human made that,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, like, even if AI makes it, it's still, is it art then?
And that's tough because in many cases, it is a compilation of many, many people's art
Right,
that it scours across the interwebs. So, but yeah, there's an art to how you give a prompt to an AI prompt, right? So that's going to
right,
become an art form in itself because you saying like I don't know, a guy walks up and, I don't know, grabs a cat and it jumps on his head. I don't know how it actually produces that might not be at all what's envisioned. And so how you direct that prompt, like that I think is going to be very much a job.
Yeah.
Probably already is.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear people talk about being AI artists.
Yeah.
All right, nice. Love it. All right, we got through that. Now, well, this is the part where I say thank you to my guest for taking time to speak with me, to speak with the listeners and viewers. Brittany, it's been awesome getting to know you over the last year or so. And you and Jeff are awesome. I always love our conversations
Thank
because
you.
they're always,
Likewise.
I know I can lean into you guys for some cool, juicy, philosophical, artistic conversations. And
And
this is
same, you have these
definitely
like
that.
really fun, deep questions that, definitely have to make us think, which is great.
It's all from the podcast training.
Well done.
Okay, cool. Well, why don't you tell everybody where they can check out your work, where they can connect?
Yeah, if you go to my website, brittanyBiggs.com, BrittanyBiggs, that's kind of like showing off my Previs reel from some of the work that I've done on like various animated feature projects. And then for my film Mono, I already mentioned monosharkfilm.com. So you can check that out there. But yeah, between those two sites, you'll get to see some of my personal work and then also some of my professional work.
Nice. And if you guys haven't seen K-pop Demon Hunters, go check it out. That was fun. Okay, cool. Well then, we're gonna take a little break here and come back for part two. Before we go, I was asked my guest for a bit of what I call off the cuff wisdom.
Oh boy.
So it
Oh.
doesn't have to be about creativity or art. It can just be wisdom in whatever form.
Oh, I don't have any prompts.
Nope.
I
It's
feel like
got
I need a
no,
prompt. Oh my
no.
gosh.
It's just some kind of wisdom, and it's got to be deep and awesome.
Oh
Doesn't have
man.
to be that deep.
I feel like I already gave like my be open to the universe and see where it takes you.
Okay.
But I don't know. Let's see. Um, that's a tough one.
Rain check. You need a rain check.
I might.
Okay.
Maybe after the intermission.
After the intermission, we'll see what comes to you. All right. We'll take a break.
Right on.
Inspired? Your support means a lot to me. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your pods, share with other artists, and let's keep the creativity flowing. And we're back. Brittany, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. This is part one is like the challenging part, you know? There's like a whole structure, and then after that I feel like I can relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's nice. Do you feel any nerves going into anything like this? No.
Luckily, no. But like I said, I think being a teacher for a while helped and, got all that kind of nerves out.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like the time the more public speaking you do, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
Especially when go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just saying also like if it's easy to talk about yourself too. Like,
Right.
I know my own interests and all that kind of stuff. So that's I don't know. It's kind of like I don't need to prepare anything.
Yeah. Totally. It's not a speech that you have to like hit certain points.
Exactly.
Totally. Is there anything you want to talk about in this part two part?
Um,
What are you thinking about recently in these days?
well, I'd like to hear more about you because I just saw on yours, social medias that you are kind of redirecting into more the sports murals or like, is that becoming more of a focus for you?
Yeah, it is. Thanks for the question there. Yeah. So I've been doing murals full time for 10 years and painting and drawing my whole life. And when I was I like when I was really young, I would draw a lot of dinosaurs, and then into middle school, I got into drawing comic book characters, and then middle school, high school, I got really into sports, and so I would do all these drawings and watercolor paintings of sports figures, and it was just portraits of players, and it's like portraits and figures essentially. Um, and I just loved doing it and did a ton. And then I went to school, uh, painting and drawing degree, and did a lot of figures and portraits and fabrics, and like really got like good at still life stuff, uh, and then getting into murals. I've been kind of all across the board doing stuff for whatever project came my way. Yeah, and it's been great. But some of my favorite projects are the sports murals that I get to do, and then no one's really like out there like niching into it. There are muralists that do it, but like no one's like made it their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
so
that's a great little niche thing. And you
yeah,
are incredible at it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, all my skill sets like just coincide there, and um, yeah, and it's super fun. Like, it's kind of lighthearted and exciting, and sports is such a big thing in our world and our culture and our country and everything, and worldwide. So, um, yeah, yeah, it was cool. So, I got an Instagram, a website, all the things, and now I'm set up, and I just did this big expo, this sports business expo, and Carlos represented me there, and it was cool. We made a lot of connections with some of the connections that I didn't expect at all were architecture firms and like interior design firms
Oh,
that
yeah.
work directly in the sports world. So yeah, yeah, it's cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it all goes. And it's cool. I've like developed this sort of style that I feel like speaks to some cool things. Like I like to do all the skin tones as like grayscale,
Hmm.
and then do the colors of the jerseys being the only color.
Oh, that's cool.
So they pop a lot,
Hmm.
and I like that metaphorically, like skin tone doesn't really matter.
Totally.
The only thing that matters is the team colors.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's
No, it's beautiful.
yeah, and I'll still do other murals as long as I'm not too busy for them.
Hmm.
Hopefully, I just get booked out solid from here on out from the sports murals, and I just like don't have time to look back.
That's awesome. Do you know, it's not like I know very many muralists, but there was one um, Hawaii-based artist who's been getting like doing a lot of murals that I love, and I'm curious if you've seen her work. She goes by Punky Aloha.
No, but I have been to. There's like a section of town that's near Honolulu, or
Oh,
that's in
Kaka.
Honolulu. Kaka'ako, yeah, super cool.
Awesome. I was actually
And
going to ask because I think they have like a Hawaii biennial or something, and I think
yeah,
they're
Pow
always.
Fest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you get into that?
Um, I don't know if I can or not. I mean, I reached out to them at one point, but I was like that was like 7 years ago, and I was barely even getting started. So maybe yeah, it would be something to apply for. I don't know if they want like local Hawaiian artists or not,
They
or
have
like
people
just
come in from all around the world.
from around the world. Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I should definitely apply. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get this going. We're gonna manifest this, Taylor.
There we go. All right. Yes, I like that. Yeah. Yeah. You manifested the top design firm. We can manifest me and the Pow Fest.
Also, there's another artist I love, Chris Goto, and she also had a lot of stuff. I think she might have had some stuff at Salts, but she also has stuff like at Target. And I don't have it right here. It's in my bathroom, but I can show it to you later. But her
Cool.
stuff's super cool too. She has a really cool style.
It's really cool seeing what everyone does with it, and like there's I just love art, and I love how artists can create so many different things.
Hmm.
Um It's really beautiful. And I like what you were saying about Sony, how there isn't like a house style.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, because like Pixar, you can tell it's a Pixar film,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I like that there's like that gives you guys a lot of freedom.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool. It is, yeah. And that's the thing, I didn't even really think about that much either until it was actually in my interview that it kind of got brought up, and I was like, yeah, that's actually really true. And that's what's been super exciting. It's like to have that kind of versatility um, in styles, like jumping from project to project.
Yeah. Uh, my okay. Give me your definition of what style is.
Oh man, I mean, it's kind of like what you kind of gravitate to, and like how, I don't know, like in a way how others could like perceive you too, but not in a judgy way. You know what I mean? It's kind of like your mark, you know, and it's, yeah, it's, yeah, it's just, it's your mark, your unique flavor and perspective.
Your signature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Can you change your style?
Oh,
How
for
and if
sure.
so, how much can you change it?
I mean, I think you can completely, you can do whatever you want. Like, you know, I mean, you have, I don't know, at first, I know this is very like basic, but you know, someone who comes to mind is like Picasso, right? That man knew how to paint, knew how to draw, knew how to do proper figures. He had all his blue, his red period or whatever. But then he, after having all that understanding, then he can like tear it apart and do whatever he wants, right? So, I mean, I think lots of artists kind of reinvent themselves all the time. Or if like they start out in one medium, they switch to something else. And like, and it's funny, even personally, you know, when I was doing, you know, I'm mainly working the computer, and it's not like I don't draw for fun. I don't actually find drawing that fun anymore. um, and but there was a period where, and this was also when we were living. It was actually okay. I was still in LA when I was at DreamWorks, and then also moving to Hawaii. But I really got into um, I don't know, it's more backstory, sorry. My grad thesis film at USC, the look of it, the style of it was the characters and the environments looked like 2D cardboard paper cutouts, but in 3D space. And I really loved, like, I kind of, you know, I love storytelling and story, like fairy tales, and I wanted to kind of have this like storybook feel to it. And I really loved like rich textural textures. And it was funny because after I finished that film, I was like, you know, it's so funny that I made a film about like these 2D cutouts, and I've never actually physically done it myself. And then I went into this whole period where I was super into like paper cutout artwork. I was on fire with it, and I made like, I had stuff like that was, I had this gallery that I loved in LA called Nucleus Gallery, and it's very much like connected to like the animation industry, and have fantastic animation artists and illustrators who showcase their stuff there. And I was so excited because I got like two pieces into this show. It was like a rock and roll tribute. Anyway, and like I sold like the pieces, and that was super exciting. And then when I was in Hawaii, I was like selling some of my art and had some of it in galleries and local galleries there. But yeah, it was just kind of funny how like I was craving something tactile because I was in the computer nonstop, you know? So sometimes I feel like there's just things you gotta get out in other forms, and you just gotta like, you know, scratch the itch, I guess, like get it out.
Right. Totally. Yeah, and I like to say that style is a byproduct of your intention and your process
Mm.
and the materials. Um, and so, you know, as an animator, you're working on the computer all the time. That's you're gonna be creating things in a certain style,
Mm-hmm.
and so then what that's gonna push you, what that pushed you to, is want to also go the other way and be tactile and like material, you know, paper cutouts. So then your intention with that is like get away from the computer and go the other
Yeah.
direction. Um, yeah, it's cool. And like if you think of it, so if it's like style is a byproduct of intention, process, and materials, then you can change those different variables in different ways, and it's gonna change your style. And it's almost like a just a fun experiment to like see what's gonna come out and come through you.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like style's cool. It's like it's an ever evolving thing, and as you like me, I paint all the time, and so then I've been continuously evolving techniques and approaches and whatnot, and then the
Mm-hmm.
style is continuously evolving and floating around as well. And then everything looks different, but I think it could still uh once people get to know me as an artist, then they can recognize me in kind of any style I do.
Mm-hmm. Totally. It's really fun now when I'm driving around Oceanside and I'm like, okay, I see this mural from afar. I know that's Taylor. It's really
Yeah.
dope.
This art show coming up next week or 2 weeks from now. There's gonna be a bunch of art that no one's ever seen before. So it'll
Ooh,
be cool to
nice.
see if you can see my style. If you can see me in that work too.
And is that a recent, like, is this a recent group of work of yours, or is this?
It's actually pulled from. It's kind of like the Misfits and Rejects actually
Oh, it's
that
the
have
vault.
been. It's the vault. Yeah, there's stuff from. There's actually a couple pieces from college that,
Nice.
and then like all the way now through that has always been that I've always liked and felt there was value in, but it never fit in anything. And this show is really cool because the title is Avant Garde, the
Mm-hmm.
avant garde, and it's spelled G like guard, like a security guard. So
Mm-hmm.
like we the creatives in the show are like the guards of this like of the avant-garde concept. So yeah, all the artists, all the musicians are instructed to like lean into that
Mm-hmm.
and go for that. And so yeah, normally as a putting an art show together, you're putting like your best foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's all these pieces that were just like a little too weird to make that cut. So then this show is the weird ones.
No, that's super cool. Nice.
It's gonna be fun.
I'm excited, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else you wanna throw down on this thing?
I don't know. I mean, what about you?
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
In terms of style, one thing it was fun watching that film K-pop Demon Hunters because it was like it's cool how there's like different animation styles from different countries and different cultures. Like I've only really been exposed to I think like Japanese studios,
mm-hmm.
and so this was like it had an Asian feel. Like it wasn't like a traditional American feel, but there's like overlaps. Like there were different like cultural feels in it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what was your experience of that, and like how was it?
Mm.
How was it all tied in together? Like how did it all come together?
I don't know. I mean, because I wasn't part of any kind of like the creative process in terms of like the story, like,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like all the designs and everything that was already like figured out by other people. It was just more like I was putting together everything together through like the camera lens
Yeah.
and the composition. So I don't know. I mean, I can. I'm not sure how to really answer that. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all right.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, and it's kind of fun. I mean, back to this like crossover of cultures. Like you were living in Hawaii, and that's like such a crossing,
Oh
like a
yeah.
meeting point of so many cultures.
Totally.
And so you were into the art. You were in the art world there and in galleries, and that must have been really fun. And then you were interacting with like local Hawaiians.
Yeah, that was awesome. And like, so it was when we were on Kauai that I had like some work in galleries, and like in general, it's, I think just because it's, you know, it's a small island, there's not much to do. So like the night markets, like there's a lot of traffic and a lot of people, and it's not just like tourists, it's also like locals as well. And so it was really fun, like not only just kind of like, you know, having our stuff out there. I mean, I had my personal work, and then we had like a little like small apparel company that was like all kind of ocean related, and a lot of shark related stuff too. But it was also just cool like to see how like locals received it as well, and like kind of that was also a way to kind of get ingrained in the community, was like through that um, I don't know, shared interest, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, same thing. It's like, you know, on Oahu, that's where, I mean, when we moved there, it was for like the job at the university, and so I didn't really have much. I wasn't really like pursuing like work in galleries. I was more just like focused on getting like this film out, um, and also becoming a part of that community, like the film community there, which is like super super cool. But yeah, it was, that was like always kind of a big thing. Is, you know, you have like there's so many cool stories and like from other cultures, and they're maybe something that you want to explore yourself. And then especially like after living in Hawaii and kind of like experiencing like that kind of outlook, it's like you want to be careful. Like I don't know. I feel like there's some sort of like there's respect, of course, when you're wanting to tell like a story that you find fascinating, even though it might not be about your own culture. But I still feel like that you should still be able to tell that story. But again, if you can like partner with someone of that culture and then like make it more like kind of to validate it, it only makes it even stronger. So I don't know, kind of like finding those relationships, and like the idea of like who's kind of able to tell some of these stories. Like that was a really kind of interesting thing to like get into.
Yeah. And it's like, it's an interesting process of, yeah, you want to, like, it seems like you want to tell that story, and you also want to do it justice, and you
Mm-hmm.
also want to include those that should be included in it. And there's like a process of, I'm sure, of getting to know those people and sharing your intention with them, so that they know that you're coming from a
The
true
right place.
place,
Yeah,
the right place.
totally.
Yeah, because there is so much appropriation that
Yeah,
gets that happens, and then like the respect isn't given where it should be given, and the whole thing. But yeah, it's cool that you're there for the right reasons. Yeah, it's delicate. It's all very
it is.
delicate.
Yeah, it is. But it is fascinating, and it's like I don't know. It's a very special thing to kind of like earn that trust, and also just to see how much better and like how like the story and the whole process is enhanced when you have like that additional support, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. Those voices
Mm-hmm.
and those perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, okay. Well, I thought of another thing I wanted to ask you about. Tell me how you're enjoying learning to surf.
Oh my gosh. Now that's super fun.
So when you started like really getting into it since you've lived here.
Yeah, it's funny because I was never interested in learning when I was in Hawaii, which is just so crazy because it's like that's where the water is warm and it's sunny and beautiful and you don't need a wetsuit. It's like, and there's just like so many fantastic like, and I'm mainly interested in longboarding. I don't really have an interest in like shortboarding. All I want to do is like cruise and eventually learn how to do like the cross stepping and the nose riding, all that kind of
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
It just looks like a beautiful, graceful dance, you know. But also like, you know, I was like I said, I was super into outrigger canoeing, and that was also something that was very magical. Was like being in a canoe with five other people, and also kind of like just knowing like this is what like ancient Hawaiians, this is how they would travel, and this is how, you know, like they got around, and like I don't know, kind of feeling like that connection to that history, and then of course being around like beautiful water and nature and animals and rainbows and all that stuff. But one of the things I loved about paddling was, you know, you're in this group, and when you all can like really like the whole goal is that your movements are precise and matching, and your paddles are entering and exiting the water at the same time. And when you find that rhythm and that blend and you start gliding, it is the most beautiful, magical feeling in the world. So I was like super hooked on that. And also, like, you are so focused on like what you're supposed to be doing at all times. And so that was, I've never been had any success with meditation ever. I get too antsy, I'm so hyper. And so that felt like a form of meditation because that's all I could focus on was exactly what I was doing in that moment. So that was great. But I think what's exciting about wanting to finally learn how to surf is part of the reason I was never interested is because I was scared of it. And not that I'm like scared of the water. I'm comfortable in the water. It's just more like the fear of falling and like the idea of, I don't know, breaking your neck, like beach breaks and stuff like that freaked me out. But so yeah, anyway, there was like kind of that fear holding me back. And then, you know, our move back to California from Hawaii, that was a bit of a rough transition back and like a really rough year. And after kind of getting through that, it kind of like reawakened, or at least, I don't know, it kind of made me want to challenge myself in ways where it's like, okay, I want to do things that scare me and feel like I'm really living. And so then I was like, okay, I want to get into surfing. And then, you know, at first when I was trying to like learn, I was like, I don't get it yet. And then once I started catching like actual like rides, I was like, okay, I get it now. I get it. And yeah, so it's just.
And was that when you were like standing on the board riding in the white water, or was that like when you were cutting across the green water? Are you like, was it when you felt the wave push you?
I think just, yeah, being upstanding and actually riding on a wave. And like, yeah, I can't remember if it was whitewash, probably was, but it was also like I learned at like a very gentle spot in Hawaii, like my friend taught me. And, you know, so all the waves were super gentle. And it was like, I think also just the experience of like paddling kind of like helped in terms of like me catching waves.
Oh yeah.
So, because yeah, my friend was like, you know, so many people have to like kind of be pushed into waves, and I never like wanted to be pushed into waves. I wanted to do it myself, and like, and that part wasn't the part that was as hard for me. It was just, it's still like I still feel like I'm need to work on like my pop-up stance, and I still need to like I'm still trying to figure out like the things that you even mentioned, like set your rail, and you know I need to figure out how to turn and all this stuff. But yeah, it is. I don't know. It's just a magical feeling.
It totally is.
How long have you been surfing?
Consistent. I've Yeah, since 2011. Um, I have an uncle that lives in Haleiwa, and so I got to go there a couple times and like surf a day or two here and there before that. But yeah, moved here then to Oceanside and started going all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you kind of, I mean, my experience, I have always been updating my surf stance and my pop up and everything. It's like, it's such an evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that I love about it so much. Like with snowboarding, I topped out and there wasn't much else I could do that would like expand my skills.
Mm-hmm.
Because at a certain point, like the only thing else to do is like launch yourself off of huge jumps and get all crazy and do giant twists and things. But surfing is like this is so dynamic, and every wave is unique, and every surf session is different, and it's always beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things about surfing is like the feeling when my arms go in the water. That's so nice, and the sound it makes, and the water's kind of like frothy.
Oh yeah.
It's just awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's humbling.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And yeah. There's people, everyone that learned when they were growing up, they're just on a whole other level. You know.
Oh god. Yeah.
If people learned when they grew up and then they did it through like, you know, middle school, high school, 20s, 30, like they're just those people actually, I almost feel sorry for them in a way because I feel like they're almost too good and there isn't that much upward growth for them. Whereas I think I will, like, I will always have upward growth available to me at this point,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which is a
Also,
nice
because
feeling.
I mean, it sounds like you're also interested in it sounds like you're interested in also like shortboarding as well as longboarding, right?
I actually don't want a longboard because,
Okay, see?
yeah.
All right.
So I'm only shortboarding because they're so different. The dynamics of how you ride a board is really different. It almost, I would relate it to like surfing or skiing versus snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on a longboard surfboard, your hips are faced a lot more forward, and
Mm-hmm.
in order to turn the board to the left, you have to like lean back to the left, and that'll do this like swoop turn. Whereas on a shortboard, you're much more front forward focused. So you're like, it's like it's like snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get comfortable, at least this is all my experience. If I get comfortable on a shortboard and then I go to a longboard, it's like I have to untrain my muscle memory
Oh,
to make it
interesting.
work. And then if I get used to a longboard again, then I have to untrain it to shortboard. So like,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and I think when you're better, when people are much higher level, they can just go back and forth. My
Mm-hmm.
brother-in-law is like real. He's been surfing his whole life. He's just so good. He can do both and just in one session could go back and forth and be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That,
yeah, yeah. But I'm gonna come surf with you guys at some point soon. I like that there's a crew that you guys are going out with and everything.
yeah. Yeah. Come show us your tricks. I remember you telling me about the Oreo biscuit thing.
Oreo biscuit technique.
Yeah.
It's the best. Yep.
It has worked for me a couple times.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, the Oreo biscuit technique for the listener, the viewer, you basically the wave like builds up this way and then pushes, so you want to put your weight back on the tail of the board and it'll scoot you forward rather than leaning forward and trying to go down the hill of the wave. And it totally works. It like that made such a big difference for
Mm-hmm.
me, and I have since gotten a shorter board since
Oh,
talking to you about that. So like shorter board, less volume, and I'm still catching waves as like better than I was before.
nice.
So
So wait,
it
what
works.
size are you now?
It's a 6 foot, um, 6 foot exactly, like yeah, 33 liters. Looking to go out tomorrow. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I see it's getting really big, I think, this weekend, right?
Yeah, there's some waves coming. It's fun.
Yeah. And so you tend to, is Oceanside like your spot? Because that's
Yeah,
really tricky.
yeah, Oceanside at the pier or the harbor.
Man, I've had one of my best rides, longest best rides ever at the harbor.
Hey,
And I've also eaten the most shit there too. Like
yeah,
hard.
yeah,
Oh my gosh, that is such a crazy spot.
it is, and they're steep and
Oh my God,
pitchy.
that yeah. See, that was actually what was so interesting for me. Is like learning in Hawaii. It's like you could really take your time getting up. Like, whereas here in California, I just feel like things are closing so much faster, and it's like you have to pop up so much faster.
Yeah, and that's why the beach break or the reef breaks are really nice. So
Hmm.
that's why Terramar is so nice
Love
and
it.
gentle.
I love
Like
it.
yeah, I did for the first like 3 years of surfing. Once I discovered Terramar, which was pretty early on, I wouldn't go anywhere else. Like, and there was no reason for like going to Oceanside was just not in the cards. Yeah, the wave curls too much, and then a longboard just doesn't work unless you're like a really really good longboarder, like a
Hmm.
lifelong surfer. But yeah, Terramar, and you guys go in Encinitas also, right?
Yep. Done some Grandview. I still need to try Beacons. I've heard that's really nice.
Yeah,
Done Cardiff. That's really nice. And San Onofre is my new fave.
yeah, you guys are going there a lot. Old man's.
I love it.
Yeah, nice
Those are my
gentle wave, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
That's the stuff I like.
yeah, that sounds fun.
So if you were to go to Sano, would you still try shortboarding there, or what would you do?
I don't know. Probably not. If I was gonna come with you guys, I could longboard it with you guys. Like I could get a foamy and go with you guys. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. If I were to like surf more aggressive waves and a lot like bigger, punchier ones on a longboard, then I would need to be more ready for it, and that's where I feel like it would cross my wires. But yeah, I can come to San O with you guys for sure. It'd be fun.
Yay!
Yeah.
Nice. It's funny because everyone has catch surfboards there.
Oh yeah, are those the foam ones? Like the yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah,
What do you
Jeff
ride?
got one. So I'm basically I've taken Jeff's 9 foot long catch surf. I love that thing. It's so fun, and also I just love that I don't have to worry about hurting it, and it
Right.
has. I think I told you it nailed me the rail in my nose. And I left a dent in the rail, and it was if that had been my like fiberglass board, oh my
Oh
god, it
yeah.
would be broken, right?
Right.
And I have this beautiful board that I bought for my friend in Hawaii, and it looks like a rainbow and sherbet. I call it my unicorn, and it rides really well. It's like a 9.4, but I don't know. It's like I'm more nervous riding it because I'm scared it's gonna like just. I don't know. I feel like the 9 foot is a really good length for me, and I'm just so scared of that board just like killing me.
Yeah.
But the catch surf, it's like I don't know. It's so easy to paddle, and it's so fun.
Yeah. They
Like
did a
it's
good
like
job.
a lot of people hate on foamies, and I get it. But I was talking to this guy at Sano this past weekend, and he's on this like huge 10 foot. I guess that's as big as they make it. And he was like, I've had all these really really nice boards, but this is always the most fun. This is all I'm sticking to now.
Yeah. Well, they've done a really good job because 10 years ago, or yeah, 10 years ago when I was learning to surf, or 2011, 15 years ago, it was just the wave storm, and the wave storms were just so big and clunky, and now they evolved it into like a Jerry Lopez is what you can get at Costco, and they're just way more angular and nicer. And then the Kesh Surf, those are just such a level up. Seems like those all came out like 5 or 6 years ago and got really popular, and
Yeah.
it's like the best of both worlds. It's like got the rigidity of a regular board, but like the forgiveness of a foamy.
Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah,
fun.
it is. Surfing's just a good time. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for sometimes we talk about moving to different places, and I'm just like, if there isn't surfing,
I thought
makes me think twice about it.
you were trying to move to some place where you could surf more or something.
Yeah, I mean, I would like that. Like a Hawaii would be fun. It would be cool, or something like that. But yeah, but no, there's other places like a lot of my family's in Montana, and that would be cool. But you can't surf there.
No, you can't.
All right, Brittany, it is time to sign off. You're
Yes.
tired. I'm tired. We've done a good job here. It's
I
9
know.
p.m.
Oh my gosh, yes. After a day of work, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well,
And
I really appreciate you having me, and thanks for your patience. As I think because you had asked me a while back, and like we're finally doing it.
timing is perfect.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And you're awesome, so thank you.
Thanks. Same. All right. Well, I'll see you out there and hanging out at some party that we're at, I'm sure.
Sounds great.
All right. Take care.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If this spoke to your journey, spread the word, follow the pod, and keep chasing what lights you up.